Okay. Well, bore da pawb. Croeso.
Good morning all, welcome.
Good morning everyone and welcome. My name is Rob Humphreys. I chair the Advisory Committee for Adult Learning, Adult Community Learning for the Taith project, which we'll hear more about later. I'm sure everyone is aware that Taith is a really exciting program offering transnational exchange and learning funded by the Welsh Government. And in many ways, this event itself is a form of learning across borders. And we've got a very exciting program with speakers from right across the world. Some of the proceedings today will be in English, some will be in Welsh. So if you are not a Welsh speaker, please click on the interpretation button, thing that looks a little bit like a globe, the menu of the bottom of your screen, and click the relevant button, which is click English, and that should give you interpretation when people are speaking Welsh. Thanks very much. And just to say that after the plenary session, which we're in now, concludes, there will be two workshops. So I would encourage everyone to stay on for those workshops. And as we go along through the event this morning, we very much welcome questions and short comment. Please put those in the Q&A box rather than the chat room. And I will do my best to spot them and raise them if I can. If I don't, which is quite possible, I'm sure somebody will let me know that they're there. So thanks very much, everyone. And I'm now going to introduce our first speaker, Susanna Galvan, who is the Executive Director of the Taith project. Susanna.
Thank you, bore da pawb, croeso, diolch yn fawr. Thank you, everyone. And if you excuse me, I'll say something to my Catalan friends on the call. Bon dia, als meus companys de Catalunya aquest matí, i moltes gràcies. Thank you. Yeah, it's really great to address the conference and just the fact that this conference is taking place today. And I think if we go back to what Taith is all about and take a little bit of stock on where we are with the program. I mean, for the non-Welsh speakers on the call, Taith means journey. This was a name that was chosen publicly by the people of Wales. And I think the name nicely represents the very essence of the program, which is about exchanges and mobility, but it also refers to the emotional and the life-changing impact that international exchanges have on the people who access these opportunities and who benefit from these opportunities. And I think 20 months on since the Welsh government first announced that they would be putting significant investment of money, £65 million towards this program, and also considering that the program clearly was established as a response to the fact that the UK would be withdrawing itself from the Erasmus Plus program. I think it's fair to say that since we launched the program 10 months ago in February this year, Taith has now developed its own Welsh identity. It's a program that is designed for Wales, with Wales and by Wales, and also a recognition that it's the first program of its kind in Wales and is very much aligned with the Wales international strategy. So I think a reflection on that is important. I addressed the international stakeholders at the European Parliament together with our Minister for Education and Welsh Language, Jeremy Miles, last month, and I was thinking about what makes Taith unique. Again, 10 months on since the program was launched, and I think there's six points really that I think makes the program unique. Number one is the fact that it's a sector-led program and is co-designed with the sectors that are eligible for funding under Taith. And I think the event today is a great testament to that. The second point I would say is the breadth and reach of the sectors that are eligible for funding. So of course we have what we call in Taith as a bit of a joke, the usual suspects, of course, but the higher education institutions. But we have schools, all schools, primary and secondary, the youth voluntary sector, the further education sector, vocational education and training organizations and institutions, and of course, adult learning and adult education, something that some European partners are very jealous about because they've been lobbying for this sector to be more actively embedded into other programs like Erasmus, for example. The third unique point I would say is the reciprocity aspect. Some people don't like the word reciprocity. Let's call it mutuality. And the fact that the funding that is available under Taith allows for mobilities and exchanges in both directions. So from Wales to the world and from the world into Wales, something that these sectors here have very much welcomed so far. The number 4 point, I think, is the focus and the strong emphasis on inclusion and equality and equity. So, of course, widening participation being one of the very key elements of the program, but also inclusion more generally and more widely in terms of making sure that we have all these sectors that are eligible as part of the program, but that we, as a program, we try to reach out to people, individuals, and organizations that they haven't benefited from international opportunities and exchanges before, either because of lack of confidence, lack of capacity, or kind of, a sense that it's not for them. The fifth, I would say, is the fifth point is the strong emphasis on the engagement with the sectors and the support for the sectors to engage with Taith. And of course, the sector organizing bodies and Learning and Work Institute for Wales today, and the fact that we have an event like today is again evidence of that. But the really important connection and relationship we have with the sectors through the sector organizing bodies, the constant engagement, and the fact that within the team we have 3 sector specialized project managers whose role is to have the ears on the ground and check the temperature, and that we work very closely with the sectors moving forward. And if I may say so, without embarrassing my colleagues on the call today, I would say the 6th point that makes us unique is our team. And I say this because, it's a program that we've put together in a very short time span. Everybody that joined Taith, we are new to the team. We come from different backgrounds. We're very diverse in terms of our experience, careers, personal experiences as well. But one thing that kind of joins us together is our passion and our commitment for the program. We really believe in what Taith is all about, and I think that we hope that commitment and that passion kind of shines through everything we do and how we engage with all of you. As you know, on the funding framework for Taith, we had Pathway 1, which is the bread and butter of Taith, is the funding that allows for mobilities. And we had the first call for Pathway 1 that was launched in spring this year, in March, and it closed in May. We had really good response to Pathway 1. We had 70 applications from across all sectors. When we opened the call and as we were getting close to the deadline, we were getting really stressed. It's like, okay, are we going to get enough applications? Are we going to get applications from across all sectors? Because everything is kind of new. And we were very happy that we did receive 70 applications. 52 of them were successful. And these applications came from 46 different organizations across Wales. And the combined value of these applications was just a little bit over £10 million. And it was really good to see applications coming from the adult education sector. We had 10 applications from the sector, and 6 of those were successful. And I think this is a really positive story, and again, testament to the work that the sector organizing body has done in the last few months to engage, to get to gauge that interest and to get people to submit quality applications. There were 6 consortium applications out of these 52. I mean, the information is on our website, but the combined reach in terms of organizations through those consortium and the overall successful applications is over 100 institutions and organizations across Wales. These 52 successful applications will deliver exchanges and mobilities of more than 6,000 in total. This includes both outward mobilities from Wales out, as well as inward mobilities. It includes mobilities of learners as well as staff, and exchanges with around 95 different countries across the world, which is really great to see. And since September, 2 months ago, we're starting to see some of the projects coming to life. There's quite a lot of activity on social media and so on. It was also really good to see that of all the successful organization, they cover all of the 22 local authorities across Wales, so that geographical spread is also really important to us as a program. As we speak, we've got Pathway 2 open, the funding call, and the deadline is in 50 hours, 50. Not that I'm counting or anything, but we're getting close to the deadline on Thursday by noon, Welsh time. Pathway 2 is one that focuses on strategic partnerships and collaboration projects, which aim to deliver outputs in 3 key themes that we specified during the funding call. We know that we've received some applications already, but we are hoping to see good numbers from across the sectors eligible. All sectors except for higher education are eligible for Pathway 2 funding. And I think within the funding framework, perhaps just to mention that Taith also funds a partnership called Global Wales, which is a partnership between all universities in Wales and further education colleges, with the aim to raise visibility in key international markets and help to broker international partnerships between these sectors in Wales and internationally, and Taith funds that. So if we think about looking ahead very briefly, and then I'm done, Rob, just very, very briefly, I think it's really important as we move forward that, the program runs for 4 years. So it started this year until 2026. And we see events like this as being really key in terms of our role as Taith, working in partnership with sectors, which is about raising visibility of the program, not just supporting the Welsh sectors to engage, participate, as I said, but how do we take it to the next level and ensure that we facilitate those connections for the sectors and with the sectors, that we raise visibility for the program, that we continue to have flexibility and innovation at the very heart of the program, and that we have this constant mindset of learning and developing and learning from each other and improving the program to make sure that it delivers to what it promises. And as Taith team, we are looking to joining as many international networks as possible. We've got colleagues on the call, for example, from Ar-lein, Noelia. We've been talking to them and they're very keen that we joined as associate members of that European network. Of course, we've got colleagues from La Taula in Catalonia as well. And we're doing a networking event on the 15th of December to try to connect organizations in Wales with organizations in Catalonia. We're talking to other European networks. We've got colleagues from Movetia as well today, and we're looking at delivering a joint session at the European Association for International Education Conference next year. And I think making sure that Taith is seen not just a small program in a small nation, but we are seen as a world-class international mobility funding agency, and that we have a seat at the table with other partners so that we can influence policy, we can learn from best practice from other players out there, and that we help connect Wales with Europe and the wider world. I think just to finish, of course, Taith is a worldwide program, but I think it's important to remember that it was designed with a strong focus on Europe. So, of course, European partners are really important, and it's really nice to see some European partners on the call. And we are also very keen to develop links with partners outside Europe as we move forward. But I think that journey, I take you back to the beginning of my address, if we think about Taith as a journey, we're on a journey. We're learning with the sectors, and I think events like today will be really important as we move forward, so we can learn from best practice and make sure that Taith delivers, and also hopefully that there will be a future for Taith beyond 2026 as well. So diolch yn fawr, thank you very much. Sorry, Rob, if I ran over time a bit.
No worries. Diolch yn fawr iawn, Susanna. Thank you so much. And seeing as there are a large number of people from what we describe as the adult education sector, which is obviously very diverse, on the call, may I pass on everyone's thanks to you and your team, Susanna, for the tremendous work you've done in setting up the project from standing start only a matter of months ago, in effect. So big thanks to you all. And of course, we look forward to working with you and your team in the future. So now we move on to Jenny MacArthur as the Chief Executive Officer of Adult Learning Australia. And I think it's around about 9 p.m. where Jenny is. She's got the blurred background on, which probably means she's in some swanky restaurant in Sydney or somewhere like that. But Jenny,
I don't think so.
It's so good of you to join us late in the evening, or late-ish in the evening for you. And it's a great privilege to have you with us, and we very much look forward to hearing what you've got to say. And we can see your screen, by the way.
Great. It's probably gone away and coming back again. Can you see it now?
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I was really pleased to be invited by Kay and reaching out to me. Just hearing what Taith is doing and really makes me feel envious, because down here in the Southern Hemisphere, we don't have that sort of enthusiasm from our government, even though we've just recently changed our federal government after nearly a decade. We haven't got to that stage yet. So thank you very much for inviting me. I was very impressed with Jeremy Miles speaking when he said, when it's never too late to learn in Parliament, and talked about second chance nations. So I think that's interesting that it's come up at the level of government that it has, and certainly good example for us here. So I thought I'd just begin just to put it in context of where we are, because I know most of you are in the Northern Hemisphere, and for those of you that might not have been to Australia yet, you can see that we're a long way from wherever you are. Australia is the largest island continent in the world, and we're surrounded by the Asia Pacific nations, and as you can see, the Pacific Ocean and the Indian Ocean. So it's very expensive for us to fly to other places outside of Asia or Pacific. So generally, if you're traveling to Europe or the UK or anywhere else, you try to make the most of it. Now, our population is 26 million Australians at the last census, and most are along the east coast here. So Australia has 3 levels of government. I'll just move to the next slide. So we have 3 levels of government. One is the federal government, the national government, and then there are state and territories across Australia. So they have their own governments, and then we have local government. So I think we've got an extra layer of government than most of you. So that means there's a lot of argy-bargy in terms of negotiations and legislation where it impacts on both the nation and the states and territories. So I'm just putting this map up here just to show you. Can you see my cursor? Hello.
No.
No, I don't think we see the cursor.
Oh, no worries. But you can see the map with all the colours on it is a map of pre-colonisation. So they were the nations, the First Nations people, which has been mapped out in recent years, showing the different language groups of Australia. You can see there's a few hundred there, and we're still discovering more. And the other map is the map since that time, which has got all the cities, the European and cities named on there. So I'm basically right down the bottom in Melbourne in Victoria, and you can see the little island off the bottom there, Tasmania. So I'm kind of just at the edge of the mainland there. And so there's basically two Australias. There's the pre-colonial one and the post-colonial one. Indigenous people weren't treated very well and initially by the colonial forefathers, and Australia was declared terra nullius, which means that they declared that there were no people here, which was very untrue. There were thousands of different nations here, but many died from disease, many were poisoned in the wells, many were murdered and shot, and Australia's only just starting to come to terms with that here. So I've just put a little short video of which I'll show you in a second, which is one of the local Aboriginal groups which are now coming to the fore. It's now kind of expected that at public events you acknowledge the land and the country from which you're on. So tonight I'm coming to you from, even though I'm in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, it's Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung country from the Kulin Nation. So that's kind of the southeast part of Australia, and the Wurundjeri people were basically the river people along the Yarra River and just to the coast. So we tend to do an acknowledgement of the traditional owners, and often there's a traditional welcome, and so hopefully this video will work. And you'll just, this is outside where our office is located. We're located on a river as part of a community arts centre, and this is the grounds outside, and I'll just... So you can see there that people have had to learn, the First Nations people have had to relearn their culture, especially because they were forced onto missions during colonisation, and children were stolen, or they're called the stolen children, and many were taken away and are still some are still recovering, and there's been a whole lot of commission inquiries into what happened and the impact of those policies, which are still impacting Australia today. We've had a new national government as of July. We got rid of the Conservative government, and the Labor government came in, and they've given a commitment to enshrine the First Nations or Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander voice into the Constitution. Our laws didn't recognise Aboriginal people until 1962, when they were able to get the vote. And there's a whole lot of work being done around recognising culture now. But I always talk about the First Nations people, who are the oldest continuing living culture in the world, as the original lifelong learners. Whoops, moving on to that. So just in terms of Adult Learning Australia, I've been the CEO there for about 6 years, and Adult Learning Australia has been going for 63, we're in our 63rd year now. So we've been around in different incarnations for a while. We're a national voice for adult learning and community education. Our members consist of community providers, but also some public providers who work in technical and further education. We also have individual adult educators, academics, and some other organisations that provide support services but are involved in some form of education. But our main aim is to, our mission is really to advocate for access to lifelong learning for all Australians, but we focus on 15 years plus. And we tend to have a more prominent voice for community providers, adult community providers, because there's less opportunities for them to have a say in our political environment. So one of the key things that we do, we offer professional development. We facilitate professional development for our sector, but adult educators, particularly on things around literacy and numeracy, and a whole range of other opportunities for people to build up their capacity and their knowledge. There's a lot of casual staff that are coming in. They don't have time. They'll have a background in adult education, but they might not have skills in, for instance, in teaching literacy or numeracy. So we offer opportunities for them to do what might be called micro-credentials or professional development opportunities to build up their capabilities and their competencies. So that's one of the things that we offer the sector. We're in the process of establishing a learning portal so that people can do some online learning, particularly in relation to adult learning theory. It just takes time to get that up. And we're looking at that being a long-term sort of option for community organisations and adult educators. So that's one of the ways that we look at trying to provide funding for ourselves. We don't, I'm very envious of funding that you might get from government. We did used to get what we call core funding, but there was change of government a few years back and they cut the core funding so that used to fund research and advocacy. We get some funding now for Adult Learners Week, which is the only funding we get from the federal government. So in terms of our national reach. So Adult Learners Week coincides with UNESCO, United Nations Adult Learners Week, which I think was, I know ours has been going for 25 years, but ours coincides with that. So we run that for the 1st and the 8th of September. And we do a launch. One of the ministers usually speaks there, and we have a range of events around the country. We encourage any adult education providers to run events. We have scholarships, and we post a lot of things on social media celebrating all kinds of adult learning. This is the only forum where the national government actually funds broader adult education that's not related directly to work or skills and training.
Ask you to speed up just a little, Jenny, please.
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry, haven't got long to go. So we also produce a journal. So if anyone's looking to put in any articles, we've got a call to paper for 2023, and that'll be about contributions to workplace experience to adults in lifelong learning. We've currently got a special edition which is focusing on adult ed and climate change. We also do a magazine, Quest, which collects a lot of stories, and we know that stories are really important to tell about what changes and transforms for people. What's going on in the Australian context after the recent election? Our government is very much focused on filling the skills gap, and there's a lot of skills gaps, and they've just formed new legislation to support a Jobs and Skills Australia, which is a new authority, and they'll be looking at ways of, they'll be looking at research, they'll be looking at studies. There was a parliamentary inquiry into adult literacy and numeracy, so they'll be looking at how to respond to that. You can see I've got panels up there. So they're looking at skills shortage, they're doing consultations about employment, and also looking at the impacts of things like COVID. Australia's, and we've been very prone to recent floods. We've flooded just around the corner. Hundreds of people have lost their houses. We've had fires, floods and droughts all along and in between COVID. So adult education is very important in terms of people learning how to sustain themselves and how to respond. I'll just finish up. We have got a small foundation called Learning Changes Lives Foundation, and that supports people from 15 years plus to whether it's through scholarships or through this group here. We bought a coffee machine for a neighbourhood house, and it's in a disadvantaged area of government housing, public housing. And some of these people, some of our learners had disabilities. They've learned how to make coffee. They've learned how to budget in terms of providing change. They've learned customer service, and it's been a great success for about 40 people, and many have gone on to get jobs and do other training. But that's what we're here for, to learn, help people to change their lives and open opportunities. So I'll leave it there. There's my contact. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or you can email me at either my direct email or the info at. Thank you.
Jenny, thank you so much. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to make the slides available to participants.
I've already given them. Yes.
Oh, good stuff. Thank you very much. And it's quite striking, isn't it? I'm sure everyone will recognise some very, very similar themes around what we'd like to do, various funding constraints and government policies and so on. But, very similar themes from adult educators wherever you are in the world, it seems to me. So thank you, Jenny. Now we move on to Helen Prosser, who is going to tell us, and I think Helen may well be speaking in Welsh, so you may want to click the relevant button on translation. Helen is Director of Teaching and Learning at the National Centre for Learning Welsh, and is going to be talking about a successful Taith Pathway 1 project. Over to you, Helen. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr, Rob.
Thank you very much, Rob, and good morning all. And before we start, as Rob has done, I'd also like to reiterate Susanna's 6 point, which is the Taith staff team, and for us in the Welsh language unit, I'd like to thank Walter, especially, who's been so supportive of us, and we really appreciate this service we've had. So thanks very much for the whole Taith team, but especially Walter. So good morning all. I'm glad to say that us in the Welsh Learning Centre have been successful in our first application, because I hope it'll be the first of many really, to ensure that we raise the profile of the Welsh language, not only here in Wales, but of course across Europe and maybe the world, who knows, following the example of the football team, of course. But I want to talk about a scheme called Siarad, which means talking. And thank you very much for the invitation to present this scheme to you, because when we saw the Taith scheme, I knew immediately that we had important lessons to learn about this project. Quite simply, it's a buddy scheme, or as we like it to say in Welsh, buddy scheme, where we'll have people who are learning Welsh and we pair them with people who speak Welsh fluently. So a few words about the project. To start with, we're asking for a commitment of 10 hours. It's a completely voluntary scheme. We ask people to give 10 hours of their time over an extended period. Obviously, there's a need to be over 18 years of age for practical reasons. And then also from the point of view of safety, we do ask people to meet publicly. Of course, we want people to speak Welsh. That's the whole point. But also, we have to emphasize that it's not a lesson. That isn't what the scheme's about. If you're aware of the Welsh Learning Scheme, we've got learners, foundation, then intermediate, and people that are learning Welsh on this project are all on an intermediate, so they're all able to hold the conversation. So, therefore, I've got a siarad partner, and I go to our website, dysgucymraeg.cymru or learnwelsh.cymru, and that's what I see. When am I available? And then the details of my siarad partner. Obviously, I've deleted her details, Rebecca's details for today, but then when we've completed our 10 hours, I tick, and the two of us, or both of us, get a certificate. But why are we doing the Siarad project, and why do we want Taith Finance to improve it? Well, we did the pilot with less than 100 pairs 5 years ago, and at the end of the pilot, we did the questionnaire, and every one of those learners said that they'd had an excellent experience on the Siarad project, that they'd appreciated the help they had from their Siarad partners. Sorry, the slide's in Welsh only. Are you using more Welsh? 86% of the people said that they use more Welsh because of the Siarad project. Now the Welsh Government has got a project to get 1 million Welsh speakers by 2050. It's an excellent objective, but it's much more important that 500,000 people use the Welsh language and use the language constantly. So the Siarad scheme is part of the effort to get more people to use their Welsh. This is our website. I was going to show the website to you, but I'm speeding up, seeing as we're only slightly late. We go into our website and you see that there's a lot of instructions and videos about the Siarad project. Therefore, what do people do? Well, they meet in a cafe or pub, they go for a walk, watch a sporting event, visit a museum or gallery, have an online conversation since COVID, or go to a concert or a Welsh group. And this is a very important part for me of the Siarad project. The word integration is important. We use the word integration when we talk about refugees, and it's just as important for us that we integrate people that learn Welsh, our new speakers in societies, communities, and Welsh places. So we do ask our Siarad volunteers, if they can, go the second mile and take our new speakers to the heart of our communities and societies. The theatre, we've got a very lively theatre in Welsh, and we have succeeded to get our theatre companies to give reductions to Siarad pairs, and that's an important part of what's coming next regarding the Taith scheme. So what is the current situation, and why do we need help from the Taith scheme? Last year, in Wales, we had just over 260 pairs. So 520 volunteers practicing Welsh together. Excellent. But the waiting list for a partner was longer than the number of partners that existed. Therefore, a fortnight ago, we made an appeal, and Jason Mohammed on Radio Wales used his phone-in program to appeal for volunteers. Even though it's an English language program, there's a number of Welsh speakers that listen to it. People that are listening this morning that are international. He's a professional presenter, not just in the Welsh context, but also across the Britain and especially with sports. Jason volunteered on the program to be one part of the Siarad project, and that's had a lot of attention in the Welsh media. On the basis of that, we've now got 100 more volunteers on the Siarad project, but we really need the Taith project, because our project is to go to Barcelona to learn about what's happening with the similar project in Catalonia. And if I'm honest, we've cloned our Siarad project on that project. So getting this opportunity for us is golden. We started in Wales 5 years ago. The project started in Catalonia in 2002. So there's 18 years difference. We have 200 pairs in Catalonia. There's thousands. The latest information that I've got is 1,466. A bit more firm in Catalonia. They can afford to be, I'm sure. They insist on an hour per week for 10 weeks of people. We're a bit more flexible, but the things that we've got a huge interest in, they offer a discount card. The businesses in Catalonia support their scheme so that the people that are on the project get loyalty points when they get a coffee, buy 9 coffees, get 10 for free by large businesses in Catalonia. They provide resources for the pairs, ideas for talking, etc. We don't. And they're also have so many people, they're able to look at different areas. For example, they're able to consider what people's religions are. Muslim, Christian, they're able to pair people as a part of the same interest. Therefore, what do we hope to have on our journey to Catalonia? Look how they administer nationally and locally, because nationally in the Welsh Learning Centre through the interactive site, and then we've got 9 partners then doing the work locally. Very important. Have they got tips on how we can attract volunteers? We want to see the guidelines and the resources to see if we can copy them. And I've got huge interest in seeing how they get support from so many businesses, and some of those businesses are international ones. Therefore, the 10 of us will be traveling to Barcelona in the spring to learn more about their project to improve our Siarad project. We have done an application form so that everybody in the sector has got an opportunity to come, but we really want to make sure that we're able to do real improvements to the Siarad project and to make a difference to the Welsh learners on the basis of the Taith money. So thank you very much for your support.
Diolch yn fawr iawn I chi, Helen.
Thank you very much, Helen.
And thank you also for helping me getting us back to time within a few minutes. I think we should be having these conferences on a regular basis, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who would want to hear in a few months or a year's time about how the Pathway 1 projects have gone, including yours, Helen. Thank you so much. Right, we now move on to the first panel session of today on international links. And I think Andrea Bernhard Böckler from the Volkshochschule Band has joined us. She is one panelist. Hello, Andrea.
Yes, hello from Germany. Hi, hello
Hi,
everybody.
how are you? Thank you so much for joining us. And alongside Andrea is Willie McAuliffe, who is the co-chair of the Cork Learning City in Ireland, of course. And both Andrea and Willie have a few minutes to talk us through their projects and give perspectives on international mobility and so on, and what they're up to. So I'm not sure who's going first. Andrea, perhaps may I invite you to go first?
Yeah, maybe I start, no problem. Yes, hello everybody. As I said before, hello from Germany. I'm representing today the Volkshochschulen, which are the biggest adult education providers here in Germany, offering really a very broad range of everything, I would say, starting with German as a foreign language training, creativity, sports and health issues. So a lot of things, a very broad range. As we are talking about international things here, European projects, this is also something where we are pretty active, liaising with a lot of adult education centers around Europe, I would say, and having established quite a few mobility schemes, especially Erasmus Plus mobility schemes. First of all, of course, we worked with the Erasmus Plus program for staff in the field of adult education and have established a lot of things there. We are partly active if it comes to trainees who go on international mobilities. And now I have to say, just today, we are starting also mobilities for learners in adult education, which in Erasmus Plus, the program which we are using, is pretty new. So today is actually the first day for us to have some internationals from Sweden and Norway here in our house, young people who are meeting Germans and having an exchange here. So this is something we are establishing right now. And we have traditionally very good connections. I just mentioned Sweden and Norway. So we have traditionally very good connections to those countries, but also to Wales, where we had an exchange just several weeks ago. Yeah, so pretty active in international mobility schemes and also in partnership projects. So that's very briefly, maybe at this stage. Yeah, so that's for a short introduction.
Diolch yn fawr, Dankeschön. Thank you so much. And I'd encourage those attending today, please do put some questions if you have some, or observations in the Q&A box. Willie, let's have
morning.
Some Cork of the water.
How are you? Delighted to be here, and thanks for the invitation. And I just give you a kind of brief overview of what we do in Cork. Cork is in the south of Ireland, on the coast, population of short 250,000, not that many really, in comparison to other cities. And for the last number of years, roughly 18 years, a number of things have evolved over time, which began with a city development plan, which was called Imagine Our Future. And that name stays with me quite a lot because it kind of gives that sense of future, curiosity and hope. And we've done a lot of imagining since. And as a result of that plan, one suggestion was to maybe hold or explore about a learning festival in the city. But at the same time, the city council would not have had any involvement in education in the city. They were separate groups. So this was quite interesting. And by chance, just a few of us thought this was kind of an interesting idea. And a few months later, a few of us got together, explored the concept of a learning festival, robbed a few ideas from other cities, and set up a very small festival that lasted for 2 days. And that was quite interesting to see how people were interested in becoming involved in sharing their learning events of all types. And the following year, we ran another one, and it continued. And over the last 18 years, we now run a week-long festival, which involves over 20,000 people. All events are free in the week, and it's simply a case of sharing learning opportunities of all sorts. Our simple motto is to participate, celebrate, and investigate. And one of the key words for me would be to celebrate, because when it comes to learning, we normally don't think of it in those kind of terms. We think more in terms of institutions. And this concept has broadened people's idea of what exactly is learning for them in their life, in their city. Following on from that, we also developed another idea in the last number of years called a learning neighborhood. And this was breaking up the city really into smaller segments and looking at what people do in their own communities, in their neighborhood, and using the word neighborhood particularly because it has a better kind of affiliation and notion of what people really do as being neighbors, as opposed to this broader community concept. And one of the striking things for me was that if we were trying to figure out how are we going to get a neighborhood together, and the simple idea was to bring them together into a hall, invite everyone and anyone from that neighborhood, and simply having them there, sharing what they do, brought a very strong sense to me that quite often we work in channels, we work in silos, and people really weren't aware of what other people quite close to them were doing. And the idea of them coming together gave them a chance to share ideas, discuss, link up, and make it a much better learning neighborhood. We have 5 of those neighborhoods now in the city who interact with each other, share ideas of what learning means for them, and they're all quite unique in how they approach what a learning city is for them. We have gone on to develop another idea which we thought was a weak link for us, and that was links with industry. And we've established breakfast meetings with local industries, and some of them are quite large, like Apple and Janssen, and very small industries, small and medium enterprises, where we simply have a breakfast meeting. People share how they learn within their industry or office or whatever. And it's been quite amazing to see how people learn by simply listening to each other, getting in touch later with each other, and discovering new ways of learning within their own workplace. One of our latest things is that in Ireland itself, we've established 5 learning cities. And 2 of those are in the north of Ireland, in Belfast and Derry. And today and tomorrow, we're holding a seminar in Cork with the 5 learning cities, where we have a chance to discuss how we approach learning in each of our cities and simply learn from each other. And the interesting thing is that from the national side of things, our own government has established a shared Ireland fund. And this is really good because now they're putting money where they would normally have only spoken about things. And they're giving seed funding to develop ideas for shared projects between North and South of Ireland. And the next 2 days, we'll be spending time exploring how we're going to develop a few projects between North and South with funding, which is quite unusual, really. Normally, you work with nothing. We also held in 2017 the International UNESCO Conference on Learning Cities. And that was quite a major thing for us, given the previous 2 international conferences were in Beijing and in Mexico. Now, we're a tiny little city in comparison. And I think that gave us great links and broadened our own views and vision of what a learning city can be. I think we could have a lot in common with Wales, how we do things, and listening to your former speakers there, the key words are coming up, both inclusivity, equity, and sharing good practice and collaboration. So I look forward to working with you in the future, if we can. Thanks very much, Rob.
Thank you very much, Willie. Thank you both. Had some questions submitted in advance, and these, I think, will be no surprise to anyone, but it would be really good to have some insight from our two panelists. And one is on, and I see that Andrea has mentioned NEETs in an exchange with Walter in the chat room, is in your various endeavours, thinking also of possible mobility and international partnerships, how do we best reach learners who historically have been most distant, not necessarily their fault, of course, most distant from opportunities to learn? How do we really engage the harder to reach? I don't know who wants to go first. Andrea.
Yeah, as I said, I'm just sitting them upstairs, just on the third floor. I'm on the second. Yes, it's my experience is as I said, we have just started a mobility project with NEETs from Sweden, Norway, and Germany. And my experience is that we really have to go and meet people. So what I do is we have a lot of let's say basic learning classes here. You can also take basic school exams at our schools. So what I do is I go there, and it is really important to establish, let's say, a personal level, a personal connection, really to talk to people. And then you see that these people are really eager to join projects, Erasmus Plus mobilities, for example. And we had, before we did these mobilities, we had empowerment workshops in our countries. And that was definitely a good strategy. Then getting together, we had staff in these workshops as well as the learners from our basic education classes, I would call them like that. And yeah, we had really good empowerment and team building workshops. And then now we can build on the personal relation. I think that is important. And for us, of course, it is important, or would be important, also to involve our teachers and really to be close to each other. And then you find a lot of interesting people, I have to say, that go on mobilities with us. And of course, we hope that this will really have an effect. And we can see that people are really happy that they have the opportunity, and that yeah, they are yeah, so they can participate in activities like this, which they usually do not have the option or the opportunity to do. So yeah, I can really, in this case, just report from my daily life at the very moment.
Dankeschön. Willie, you talked already a little bit about the neighbourhood project, which sounds so interesting, but maybe you've got more to say on this, about reaching the harder to reach.
Yeah, I think our experience has been to really, you've got to take people where they're at, not where you think they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And going from there, realizing and re-exploring in your own head, what exactly is learning for them? What are we trying to do here? Rather than being prescriptive for people, I think it's more important to be able to listen to them and see where they're at. Can you facilitate learning opportunities for where they're at? Would be very important for us in the work that we do. We've established as a pilot project work with the university where we have, they have funded the development of what we call community mentors. And these people are coming from the communities, very strongly from the communities, know people in the communities. And we're trying to upskill them to allow them facilitate meeting with people and giving that bit of encouragement in the way they know best for the people they know best in their community. That kind of approach, it's in the experimental stage at the moment, but it has shown some good results in the way local people can relate to other local people.
I don't want to run over time too much, but I do want to get some of these questions that have been submitted earlier in, and I might tweak them slightly because it picks up what you've both just been talking about. The first one is, it seems that from both contributions just now in response to the first question, that face-to-face teaching remains very important. I'm just wondering how far after COVID there's remote learning and Zoom and Teams, whatever it is, has that altered and created new opportunities, or is that fallen away now? We're back to face. Willie, maybe you could go first.
I think we much prefer to be face to face. Really do. Zoom and all those have a place, but I think the size of our city, and in many cases, those who are hardest to reach aren't up to speed with technology to be on Zoom and things like that quite often. They're just not interested, you know? So I think trying to go back and use any technology, use every and any means that you can with people. And that means every possible means is what we would be hoping for, and not to be kind of thinking that you know best yourself and how to approach things there. That's where we have to come from. And sometimes you fail and sometimes it works.
Yeah.
That's a general answer, knowing, I think, but that's as best as I can do.
Thank you. Andrea?
Yeah, I think the two, both at the moment at our schools, we still have both options, let's say, but it very much depends on target groups. For example, in the field of foreign language training, for example, we offer a lot of exotic languages which can be learned at our schools, and these tend to stay online. And we do not only have clients now from the region. Usually we have regional schools, adult education centers on community level, or more or less everywhere. But for example, these specific languages that you can learn, by the way, also Welsh, and there we have clients from all over the world, and we also have teachers from all over the world. So we just had a Spanish Erasmus Plus group here in Germany, and now one of them is teaching online at one of our schools. So these things happen in certain sectors, but I totally agree that we have target groups where we want to stay in presence, face to face, and want to, because in our schools it's always a big issue or a big advantage that we do not only teach, but people meet, so a social effect of learning. So for example, in our artistic classes or yoga classes, things we have, there people come to do it as a hobby and also to meet other people and have a group feeling, and that's important for us. And also I just reported on the needs that we have in our house at the moment, and also here you feel that the class being together, and the people are really close to each other, I have to say, they help each other, etc. And that is there, it is important that people just meet regularly every day, whatever, to have this spirit also, to be a group. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And final question, unless we've got there's something in the Q&A box, I see. This is from Loveday Williams from National Museum of Wales. Loveday is asking, is that an observation or a question about using museums in particular as a hook to engage learners and hopefully get them online in a supported capacity for further learning. So there is a question in there, I think. Do you have experience of working with organizations, say like museums in the cultural sector, to engage learners? Willie?
We have. I think we've worked very successfully with the libraries and museums in the city for the Lifelong Learning Festival. They've played a major part for us in offering extremely good work during the festival itself, encouraging people to attend, and they have found it as a very good facilitation and vehicle for their own purposes in attracting people. And that has been very important. They tell us, and they are on our committee, the organising committee, from the libraries and from the university and from the museum in Cork. So their views are well represented for us, and we see it as a very important learning area.
Andrea?
Yeah, same for us. I can confirm we work also with museums, libraries as well. With museums, we have a lot of different kinds of cooperations, I would say. So, for example, we go with classes to museums and do a learning program there. Learning programs from museums cooperate with us, and also we just talked about online sessions. We also cooperate with museums that are far away from us and have lectures on their art, or with specialists from them. So we do have all sorts of cooperation with museums, and it's always interesting, of course. And also for our classes, they like, to go somewhere and visit something. So yeah, same experience. And also with libraries, and those, of course, we also use to, we do not only offer classes, but for example, we also have guidance consultancy services in our schools. So for example, we go to libraries or maybe also museums and offer the services there, just to meet the people and tell us that we are there. So that is also, museums and libraries are also a sort of forum for us, just to go there, offer guidance services, consultancy. Yeah.
Thank you. What Loveday didn't say in the question in the Q&A box is that the National Museum of Wales Amgueddfa Cymru does some tremendous work around widening access and using the museum and to attract new kinds of visitors. So I would imagine that there's a lot of scope for some international partnerships and explorations through Taith there. We have a question from Andy Phillips for Willie. How did you engage with employers to build links?
I think we simply put the word out. We worked through the Chamber of Commerce in Cork in particular. They were a very good link for us. We worked with Cork Business Association, and their contacts helped us invite people to attend breakfast meetings, which we hosted in the university, where they have a catering course. And it simply worked on the basis, after our first one, word of mouth. And we've had a number of them now over the years, and they're proven quite successful. And we've named this Cork Access Network, and it's growing from strength to strength. But we're conscious that we need more involvement from employers and from companies to explore how they train employees, how they learn within their own companies, and how they can share best practice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'm going to indulge you. One more question. I'm sitting here in Swansea, Wales' second city. Lots of equivalences with Cork, of course. This is both a learning city in Swansea, also a city of sanctuary. Now, both Germany and Ireland have, relatively speaking, received large numbers of refugees and asylum seekers in recent years. How did your respective organizations and partnerships look to engage with recent arrivals? Andrea.
Yeah. In fact, I mean, I'm representing the Volkshochschulen, and in Germany we are one of the top destinations for new arrivals, because one of our about 50% more or less of our lessons are language classes, and in particular German as a foreign language. So we have a lot of new arrivals in our school. Also, in particular at my organization, we are quite engaged in a scheme called First Orientation Classes for Refugees. So this is really one of our top first thing that we offer. So that's actually a strategy for us, and maybe also in Germany, to have an offer for new arrivals, for refugees in particular, once they arrived. So really offering them some general, not only language training, but also on how to establish here. And also in Germany, we have a big tendency that we now offer our what we call integration classes, built for those who would like to stay in Germany, and we also open them a lot. So our strategy really is language learning, but also learning of culture, of values, maybe things like that from day one. That's a strategy, and our schools, we have quite a big share there. About 50% of the classes take part in our schools. So, and a lot of international projects as well on exchange, on how to deal with refugees, how to work with refugees, fast track, labor market integration. So these are keywords that we are working with and dealing with. And that's also an interest of us, because we are here also to meet other people today. So this is certainly one of our important fields we are active in.
Thank you. Willie?
I think we've over 70,000 Ukrainians in Ireland since last February, which is quite a substantial number given the size of the country. And the main problem we have is accommodation. But outside of that, the collaboration of the health service executive and the education groups is very, very strong. And the integration into schools is very challenging, but schools are really making a huge effort to try to integrate as much as possible. And it's mostly women and children. Universities are making a huge effort as well to do their best in the circumstances that they have to accommodate people.
Thank you. There's Rich from Unison. You've got a question. I'm going to hold that over to the next panel. It's a very important question on an important theme. So I hope you'll bear with me. So for now, thank you so much to Andrea and to Willie. And before we start our next, I think we have a poll. Very exciting. If somebody can put this up on the screen. Wendy, oh yes, here we go. So here's your poll. What support would you need to apply for Taith funding? Got a multiple choice. So please choose discussion around project ideas, more advice about national policy drivers for adult learning, partner linking, both in Wales and international, support with the applications, particularly around budgeting and financial consideration, or case studies of successful projects. So please enter your choice and submit. Don't know when we get, does the result come up instantaneously, Wendy?
Yeah, as soon as everybody's voted, I'll pop the results up, yes.
Thank you. So do we wait now for that result or go on to the next question?
Yeah, no, we'll wait. I think we've
Okay.
got a steady stop now, so I shall share the findings.
Okay, thank you. There we are. So partner linking, 2/3 of those who voted. That's where they need that kind of help would be most use, but quite high responses around discussion around project ideas and case studies. Well, we're hearing some of the case studies today anyway. That's very, very interesting. If you move on to the next question. Is that coming up? There we are. What are you most interested in? This is in regard to Taith, of course. Pathway 1 around mobility, pathway 2 collaboration.
Just a few more coming through, Rob, and then I'll share.
Thank you. There we go. So it's around just over 1/3 on mobility and just under 2/3 on collaboration. Very interesting and very helpful as well. Thank you. Right, we now move to our second panel with international participants. And can I welcome Yvonne Jenken, who is the Programme Coordinator on VET from Movetia, Switzerland. Noelia Cantero, who is the Director of the European Association of Regional and Local Authorities for Lifelong Learning.
Hello.
Jaume Puig Pinos, the International Relations Officer from the La Taula project in Catalonia. And I think Yvonne will be up first. Thank you very much.
Hello from Switzerland. So, well, Switzerland is also in a quite special situation as we are not associated to Erasmus Plus anymore, and this for about 10 years, I would say. So I guess the Taith program has a lot of work to do, not to get into the same situation as we are, that we always have to run after international partnerships and try to keep up. So this is really a great issue after 10 years, because you really start to have your own process and your own mindset and so on. So, this bit of this splendid isolation is coming up slowly but surely. So, yeah, this is really one of the issues. So, Movetia, nevertheless, is the national agency for the promotion of exchange and mobilities, and of course, Key Action 2 projects. So we would like to have that every young person did once in its professional life a mobility and exchange in a European country, or maybe also in Switzerland, which is also possible now. But of course, we are very, very far away from this vision. This is really a vision for the next 100 years, I would say, because there are a lot of obstacles. It's not so easy. So why are we a national foundation? So we are going to be a public foundation in 2024. And so our responsible body is the State Secretariat for Education and Research and other federal institutions. And so basically we also have two programs, all the mobility programs, on all levels of education, and we have the cooperation projects. So of course we would be interested to have both of it if possible, who never knows. So of course there are mobilities for adults and teachers and so on, of course also for learners. So there we are very open. We are also interested in cooperation projects, for example, but internationalization strategies, as I said before, it is quite difficult to build up mobility projects, for example, because there are so many resistances, it's so complicated to do that. And the learners, they already do this and that. So why do they have to have international mobilities and all this kind of stuff? So, yeah, cooperation projects for the exchange of know-how. What I have also heard, which is more in the sector of the adult learning, the reskilling and the upskilling is also a big issue for us with the digital changes and other changes beforehand. So this would also be a very interesting aspect to work together. So yeah, basically, so we have also an international program, so we have this program, the Swiss solution to Erasmus Plus, and we have an independent international program where we also finance, the European partners. Of course, we can only finance 60%, so 40% should be brought up by the partners, but this would also be a possibility. It is a bit easier than the real European project. So I guess basically this is the information I wanted to give you this short term. Is that okay? So I'm handing over to Noelia, and it's great to work with Noelia, I can swear.
Yeah, thank you, Yvonne. I was just on mute there. Noelia. Please.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting us, and I'm particularly pleased to see so many familiar faces. Thank a lot for that poll. I think it was the perfect transition from the first panel to this one. I was extremely pleased to see that 67% of the respondents has highlighted that partner linking is one challenge, because this is exactly what we try to do through the organization that I represent. So I was very happy to see how internationalization is important at regional, local level for the territories. I have to say that we at Ar-lein, we have somehow internationalization as our core business. We have internationalization in our blood. This is what we do every day. We have members from 10 different European countries. And actually what I wanted to say in this short introduction is that no one can deny that we are living at a time of deep transformation. The way we live, the way we interact, the way we educate, the way we produce has changed. 1 year ago, we didn't know that there was going to be a war in Ukraine, that we were going to be facing a very radical and important energy crisis. So we believe that, I don't want to be very pessimistic, because we believe that education and training can provide many answers to that, and that more than ever, we need to work together, share our experiences, exchange our views and our challenges, and try to face those obstacles, all of us together. So the organization that I represent, and to be very brief, because some of the participants will have the opportunity to hear a bit more later in the parallel session, it's a European network of regional and local authorities. So we are not a very big network. We are in 10 different countries, as I said before. Our regions and local authorities are very dynamic and have among their priorities education and training, as I said, and they spend more of their budget in those policy areas. So we have a board of directors, that now the presidency is in the Basque Country region, but we have also in the board of Baden-Württemberg, we have Catalonia, we have Brittany in France, we have Tuscany in Italy, and we also have different working groups, and Yvonne is co-leading one of these working groups that is dealing with mobility. Andrea, that we heard before, is also co-leading one of those working groups that is dealing with aging societies and lifelong guidance. There is another one about skills and labor market and about youth policies. As I said, we work in 3 different areas, and what we try to do is to connect the regional local authorities and also, and thanks to the pandemic, the stakeholders, because the new technologies had allowed us not only to have a primary target group, those people that are working for the regional, local, national administrations, but also their education stakeholders and sometimes even companies and business representatives. So that, I think I'm going to leave it here for the time being, and thanks. Nice to see you, Yvonne, as well.
Tachwedd. Thank you very much, Noelia, and thanks also for reminding me and everyone of the workshops after the short break, because you can be able to hear more, particularly, not least about potential partners, it seems to me. Now, over to Jaume.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Bore da, fienwi ihu Jaume, and diolch ein befawr iawn for inviting me and La Taula to this excellent event. As Susanna was mentioning, we are kicking off a really nice, beautiful collaboration between Taith, Welsh entities, Taula and Catalan entities on how to connect the 2 territories around the concept of territories in transition. I will develop this concept further in my presentation. I want to introduce a little bit the proposal that I'm bringing here today. It's about, well, you might know already Catalonia. Helen already introduced the experience that you have in collaborating with Catalan entities or sharing models on how to promote language skills. As you know, Catalonia is a territory as Wales with a strong political, social, economic identity within our country, Spain. We also have a diverse geography. I think that is interesting in terms of finding linkages with Wales, in terms of we have big cities, large metropolitan areas like Barcelona, but also a strong rural hinterland with issues of rural-urban balance. So I think that is also interesting in looking at our 2 territories together. I really liked Noelia's points about this issue of transformations, because our territory as Wales, I think it's in transition. It's in transition in terms of economic, ecological, social, demographic transition. And this is the concept that we will explore in this networking event in the 15th of December with Catalan and Welsh organizations. Because our role, the organization I represent here, Taula del Tercer Sector, Catalonia's third sector platform, is the representing network of all Catalan third sector organizations. We understand third sector as not public, not private, but social or private led with social public goals in terms of social action, social inclusion, leisure education, working with groups at risk of vulnerability. So more or less we represent the civic space, delivering a key social action work on the ground. This is, I think, very specific from Latin countries, from Southern Europe, where the state did not develop that strongly as it did in Central Europe or in the North, for example. But I feel that the concept of third sector is understood in different geographies well. So as I was mentioning, our focus areas, and now connecting a little bit to the issue of adult education, is we understand adult education, or our organization addresses adult education through the concept, especially of social labor integration. So adult education with social inclusion goals. And I think that if you envisage a collaboration with Catalan entities, that would be the point, the entry point. We have very good experiences of adult education with a social component. Rob, you were mentioning the issue of migrants. We have very interesting experiences of organizations working on teaching skills for migrants, but also other minorities, women victims of violence, people with mental health issues, disabilities, other types of health issues, drug dependency. So all this understanding the teaching of skills through a social component, social action, understanding of the issue. Is something that is really interesting for our organizations. If you want to collaborate with Catalan entities, you will find all types of organizations, cooperatives, social economy organizations, social labor companies. So very different environment of stakeholders in delivering these social labor integration services. So I just want, I think that I will not have that much time to participate in the breakout room, sadly, but I hope that we can discuss now, maybe if you have more questions. But just to tell you that from Catalan, the Catalonia Third Sector Platform, Taula, we work a little bit as a nexus, our network is formed by 35 federations of NGOs, and our total membership is 3,000 organizations on the ground providing these services, this action that I was mentioning. So if you want to connect, we are happy. I am the international officer, so I'm happy to provide you with a more specific view of our membership. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Let's go straight to that question from, I think it's Rich, I may be wrong, from Unison, the trade union, of course, here in Wales. And that is, what work are you doing to encourage adult learners to become aware of the climate crisis and play their part in creating new low-carbon economies? And a really relevant question, how do you ensure that your activities, including international mobilities, are as low-carbon as possible? I don't know who wants to go first. Yvonne, sorry. I'm asking you.
Yeah, I would try. Well, it's I can't write my thesis today. That would be a bit too short time. But at least what I can say about the low carbon for the travel is it's like for Erasmus Plus. You know, you should take the train and only the plane if it's very far away. So you have some kilometers limited there somewhere. You know, so we do this. You know, like Erasmus Plus. And what about the adult learners too, that they are becoming aware about it? I don't know if in that situation it's their first priority. I guess if you're an adult learner and you need to be reskilled or upskilled, I guess this is your first issue, so that you can earn your life and be integrated into society. So I guess these very huge problems and issues, I guess it's not the first priority of this group, but that's my opinion.
Thank you. Noelia, anything to add?
Yeah, maybe what I can say is that because we don't have a direct a straight link with the adult education learners, so we do it through our members, and we also do it through the other education networks that we work with. So what we are trying to do is like to set up the structure and to raise awareness of the issue, so that the adult learning providers can learn about that and can benefit from the discussion that are happening also at this sort of European level. So in that sense, we started discussing about the green transition and the needs to be more sustainable already before the European institution started talking about the Green Deal. So in that sense, we work a lot with two networks, with the EAEA, which is the European Network of Adult Education Associations, and also with the with FBET, which is the same for the vocational education and training sector. And the three networks together, we have developed a website that is called GreenCom, where we actually put, we have like a policy repository with different policy initiatives, either from the European Union, but also from different member states. And we also share example of best practices of what is happening. So there is this GreenCom website that we have. We also have one project that started running in April, which is going to analyze how sustainable or how they are coping with sustainability issues, the adult education providers. So we are going to draft a sustainability matrix with different areas. So for the like a sort of self-assessment tool for adult education providers to see where they are in that matrix and how they are coping to different challenges. So as I said, unfortunately, direct contact with the adult learners themselves we don't have, but we try to promote the principles in terms of advocacy, but and also project work. So,
Jaume.
Yes, I think that maybe the logic is a little bit the same with Noelia. I want to raise the point maybe that indeed in the European Union context, we are going through this shift of paradigm towards the twin transition, digital and green transition. And from Taula, we really want to emphasize that we need to develop the social component of this twin and digital transition so that these big transformations, again, these structural transformations, leave no one behind. And in this sense, I would take your question and reframe it in a sense of finding opportunities for our adult learners in this transition. So this is the emphasis we want to put in our projects, and actually the kinds of collaborations we want to propose is how these adult learners can benefit from these economic and structural changes that the green and digital transitions are bringing. That is complex and it is very structural and global transformations for us. But we feel that in developing this kind of rooted exchanges in the territory, in what is going on, in how to mobilize the potential of social economy stakeholders, of different types of stakeholders linked to the territory, in terms of addressing energetic issues and communities, housing rehabilitation and other types of economic activities that can benefit these other learners, we can bring some benefits for this group. And also, as Taula ourselves, we are members of the 2030 Catalonia Alliance, and our role in this alliance is especially to mainstream the values and the best practices and how to operate as organizations in terms of being as low carbon as possible. We don't do that many international mobilities, and we try that the ones that we have are especially meaningful. That's why we are planning this event with Welsh organizations so that the projects that we build are really meaningful. And if we have to travel, let's make it worth, I would say. Because traveling is important as well, to meet, to have the chance to meet.
Thank you so much. We have to move on. Another question's popped up. Yes, thank you. Bear in mind that everyone has opportunities to ask more questions in the workshops after the break. But for now, Gwenllian Lansdowne has been waiting very patiently. Diolch i chi, Gwenllian, a nicely well eto. Gwenllian is going to be introducing us to another successful application, the Taith Pathway 1, and I don't know for sure that Gwenllian may well be addressing us in Welsh, so hit that translation button if you haven't done already. Gwenllian, diolch fawr.
Thank you very much for the kind words and to the Taith project and the invitation to come here today to address you. I'm trying to...
So I'll be addressing you in Welsh. So for those of you who can't follow me in Welsh, please use that facility. Now at this point, I'm going to not see you because I'm going to be focusing on my script. So if anything goes wrong, can somebody interject and say something, because otherwise I won't know. Iawn, diolch yn fawr iawn.
Right, thank you very much. So just to introduce you first of all to who Mudiad Meithrin are, I should explain that I'm the Chief Executive of Mudiad Meithrin and have been for 8 years now, and very privileged to be in that post. So Mudiad Meithrin is a charity and a company, a third sector company that was established in 1971 to promote, facilitate playing experiences, childcare and early education through the medium of Welsh. By today, there's about 1,000 locations that are part of the organisation, Cylchad TV, what we'd call in English, stay and play. The nurseries, Cylchad Meithrin, breakfast clubs, Welsh language groups for children, training centres for learners and apprentices that wants to work in the Welsh language area and the childcare area, and the groups that are starting to learn, called Club Coach. So the organisation has got 300 members of staff out in the field, and out in the field there's about 1,500 members of staff working, 400 individuals working and volunteering in TFE, the stay and play, and about 1,800 volunteers out in the community. That means, therefore, that about 25,000 children and families take advantage of our services every week. Every venue is an entity, charity normally, that works at arm's length from the organisation. So we're a voluntary organisation that offers membership to all these various entities. The Welsh Welsh Government's policy of Welsh 2050 is key to us, and that's completely key to us as an organisation, and we're going at it intentionally, therefore, to plan in the play field, care and education to contribute towards creating the Welsh speakers of the future through supporting the parents to hand over the language or to try and get them to choose care and Welsh language education for the children. We've got a number of various partners internationally, normally in the context of minority languages: Ireland, New Zealand, the Basque countries, Britain, Patagonia, Italy, USA, to name just a few. But I would like to note at this point, this collaboration tends to happen virtually. In the period I've been working for the organisation, there's been no international duties held. The opportunities for international collaboration have tended to be ad hoc in the past, concentrating on policy developments and comparing resources, and that to some extent because of the lack of money to take away from our core work. So my ambition in making an application to the Taith project would be to be able to ensure resources to work in a more coordinated, strategic and detailed way with international partners. So the Taith project has given us an excellent opportunity to move closer to that ambition. Our intention in the organisation, therefore, is to use the Taith project as a media to push the boundaries and to give learning opportunities to ourselves. We've chosen to collaborate with partners in Patagonia. The collaboration concentrates on an exchange journey, 2 periods of a fortnight, and exchange visits between Wales and Patagonia, and that hopefully will strengthen the relationship that already exists between Wales and Patagonia, and specifically between the Mudiad Meithrin and the organisations that provide care and early education in Patagonia. Choosing Patagonia has been natural, considering that the Cylchad Meithrin are already there. Cylchad Meithrin are members of the Mudiad Meithrin, and they do act also in the context of two and multi-language like Wales. Our intention, therefore, is for up to 5 individuals from the Mudiad Meithrin sector to represent the sector and the organisation on an exchange visit, visiting Welsh language Cylchad Meithrin schools and guarterias or Spanish nurseries to
amrywiol ar waith. Bydd hyn felly yn rhoi cyfle i ni amlygu polisïau, adnoddau a systemau o ran pedagogeg, gofal plant a pholisi iaith gyda phwyslais ar drochi a'r dehongliad Cymreig o drochi, a hynny o fewn cyd-destun amlieithog ble mae plant yn dueddol o siarad iaith fwyafrifol, Saesneg yn Nghymru neu Sbaeneg yn Patagonia yn y cartre. Yn ddiweddarach, byddwn yn cynnig cyfleon cyfnewid i o leia 2 unigolyn ddod ar daith i Gymru i ymweld â chylchoedd meithrin, meithrin beidd dydd Cymraeg ac ysgolion Cymraeg, gan gynnig gobeithio rhaglen ddiddorol o gyfarfodydd ac ymweliadau iddynt. Mae hyn o bwys rwan, mae'r amseru'n bwysig, mae pethau wedi bod yn anodd iawn i gylchoedd ac ysgolion ym Patagonia oherwydd y pandemig, ac mae nifer y plant mewn addysg Gymraeg yno wedi gostwng yn sylweddol. Mae o'n wahaniaeth eitha pwysig a deud y gwir oherwydd mae nifer y plant mewn addysg Gymraeg dan 1000 ym Patagonia. Mae sefyllfa addysg Gymraeg yng Nghymru'n gymaint o hynny'n gryfach. Rwan, fel byddwch chi'n gwybod yn iawn, nid pwrpas unrhyw daith i'w dechrau gwybod popeth am bob man yr aif y daith â chi. Mae gennym ni lawer iawn o bethau i ddysgu, a bydd pwyslais didactig ar fod yn barod am yr annisgwyl, addasu i gyd-destun gwahanol, dysgu geirfa a lexicon wahanol gan ein gilydd. Bydd angen hefyd cydnabod tensiynau, gweld y cyfleon pellach i gydweithio a gobeithio helpu yn gilydd. Dwi'n credu bydd hynny'n profiad cyfoethog a phwysig yn ei hawl ei hun, a dwi'n edrych ymlaen yn ddiweddarach at rannu y stori efo chi. Diolch yn fawr iawn am y cyfle i rannu ychydig o wybodaeth am y cynllun Taith, a dwi'n fwy na pharod i ateb unrhyw gwestiynau.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you so much for that. I'm looking to see if there are any questions. I wonder, Gwenllian, if I could kick things off just by asking you, what do you think in terms of exploring the Taith opportunities when you first came to explore them as an organisation? What did you see as the biggest challenge?
Ie, cwestiwn da. Wel, yn gyntaf dwi'n meddwl bod hi'n bwysig nodi bod ni'n ymyfrydi'n y ffaith.
To note that we take pride in the fact that Taith exists, and that's a stronger political point important, so that those opportunities are available to the people of Wales, be they students, learners, adults. It's important to recognise that investment that has been made in providing opportunities to be able to continue to learn off international partners, to collaborate, to get closer together. I think regarding the challenge, the world feels smaller, doesn't it, because of IT developments, the fact that we're holding this discussion today with people attending from different parts of the world. But have we become too comfortable in our own houses? And is that going to be a challenge as we try to get people to go on the journey with us? I mean that in philosophical terms also. That is the point in any journey if you think you know everything before starting. So we have to have our eyes open to see what Patagonia can teach us, and then we have our colleagues from Patagonia has got to be ready to see how we do things, to see in their context what Wales can teach them also. So I think getting that vision and concentrating on that vision is important. I have to praise this project. I thought the help that we had, especially that aspect of the peer review, we were paired with somebody that advised us on the application and said, yes, this is great, yes, this is very strong, or you need to rethink this, or you need to show more evidence. That was so useful. And it'd be very useful if more financiers offered that type of feedback. So instead of you going through some course of things impossible to understand and reaching the end of the journey, getting a thumbs up or a thumbs down, the process was very useful. But I think the main thing, in a way, this is important that we get an opportunity to share this experience, because there's a lot of establishments that haven't made an application, and maybe if they were inspired by knowing that we had, and we haven't been on an international journey for at least 10 years. We have been doing international work, yes, we've been doing collaborating virtually, etc. So maybe people have gone out of the practice, but I hope we'll encourage other people also and see it as the excellent opportunity it is to push the boundaries.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much.
So much, Gwenllian, for your contribution. A lot to learn, I think, for many organisations, and I'm sure you personally and your own organisation will stand ready to help others should they want advice and information and so on. So
Precisely, yes.
yeah, thank you. Right, just before we go into a short break, I think we have another poll, Wendy. Is that right?
Yes, we do. I'll just launch it now, Rob.
Thank you very much. There we are, straightforward, this one. Putting you on the spot, everyone. Do you intend to apply to Taith? You'll notice there is no don't know option, so come on. Yes or no. No pressure, but there's going to be some disappointment somewhere if we get the wrong result, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, I think we've come to a stop, so I should share that, Rob.
Well, yeah, that's very encouraging. 87% yes. Thank you, everyone. And don't forget, today's event has presented just a snapshot of the opportunities, snapshot of the good practice so far. And don't let the enthusiasm of today drift away. Please, your organisations, ask for help, particularly from the Learning and Work Institute Wales, as Kate Smith, as the coordinating body here, and the Taith team itself. People are there to help. We're all aware that adult education, its various component parts, is a very disparate sector. Sometimes the word sector doesn't even capture its diversity and so on. And learners in particular have very busy lives outside of their learning opportunities. but there are big opportunities within this, and I'd encourage everyone to seek advice and information because it is readily available. Now that's the plenary session concluded. I suggest we reconvene just before 12 noon, and you'll see if you open the Q&A box, the Q&A command on the bottom line there of the Zoom, you'll see the links. We now have 2 workshops. The first with Cork and the Baden-Württemberg partners, and the second with Movetia Switzerland and the European Association of Regional and Local Authorities for Lifelong Learning organization. And the links for those 2 workshops are within the Q&A chat box, so not the chat itself, the Q&A section. So for now, until after the break, just to say thank you once again to all speakers and panelists. We're very, very grateful, and not least to those who dialed in from many miles away. And I look forward to seeing everyone in a workshop, one or other, in a few minutes' time. So just before, maybe try and dial back in at 11:58 or something like that. Thank you very much, everyone.
When are we going to start again? I couldn't hear it, sorry.
2 minutes to 12, 11:58. How about that?
Okay.
Thank you.
No. I think 15 minutes would be fine. I guess everyone needs about 15 minutes pause.
Well, I'm giving people 5 minutes, I'm afraid, so I apologize for that. It's 11:53 on my computer. We need to catch some time up. So I'm saying 11:58. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.